the ambulance. Before the vote was taken on whether to give us the money or not, I was presented with a demand letter to turn over all our records for the past 5 years, and the demand was made on how our meeting was to be conducted tonight. On Thursday, in Commissioner's Court, a statement was made there will be no strings attached to the money that was to be given, and it was also in the meeting, the prior board meeting for the hospital district. Because there's never been any hint of impropriety against this organization, and after the statement was made in Commissioner's Court, I feel that this is a less than honorable request. I hope that this is not a vindictive thing against Mr. Joe Booz, who was president during the majority of the years that were requested to be given. Mr. Booz's personal integrity, as well as myself, are being brought into question, and I am personally insulted and offended by the innuendo of this request in this letter. Therefore, this needs to be put on the agenda for the next month's meeting. And also, at the same meeting, the hospital board asked us if Winnie Stowell E.M.S. through FEMA would put in a new helipad. 6 years ago, we built a helipad for the hospital because they were broke and couldn't afford it, and now they want to replace it with an upgraded or better. The pad that's there is formed in. It doesn't have to be replaced, but anyway, that is another thing that will need to be put on our agenda next month. Now, I've given Mr. Way the letter of the demand letter from them, and I suggest it be put on our agenda for next month to address anything that, any actions that should be taken. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, if you don't know me, I'm Nolan George. I am the secretary of Winnie Stowell E.M.S, and I'm also a volunteer medic.
This is, y'all request to have an open meeting. As per the lawyer looking at original bylaws, we may not fall under that by the original bylaws. And if somebody here's got something to show differently, a lawyer here.
Yeah, Richard Baker. I was originally contacted to, as I say, keep you between the ditches in the Open Meetings Act, and to look at the agenda that Mr. Nichols was preparing for the meeting, and I was not familiar with the Winnie Stowell E.M.S. before all this started, and so I started looking at it, and I've looked at the applicable statutes, and it's my opinion that the Winnie Stowell E.M.S. is not a governmental body under the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act doesn't apply. You can follow the Open Meetings Act if you want to, but you don't have to. There's not these criminal penalties. There's no some of these absolute rights that sometimes people claim under the Open Meetings Act. Now, that's whether the EMS is a governmental body for public information requests, that's a different issue. But under the Open Meetings Act, it clearly does not fall within any of the definitions of a governmental body, and I was unable to find any other authority that would make the act applicable to the EMS. If there is other authority, I'm open-minded about that. I don't pretend to be an expert on it. I try to be a good student and try to keep up, so if anybody thinks there is some authority, I'm open ears. But that's my opinion right now.
It's really up to the board if they want to do this or not. They want it open or closed.
What's the subject matter?
What do you want, Joe?
I think we'll have it open. Nothing to hide.
Go. I'll go with that.
Open?
Open session,
Yep.
discuss this.
No, those, open means that people can come to the meeting and get in and listen to the meeting. If we close it, everybody's got to leave except for people on the agenda.
Discuss the needs.
Yeah. They will not, if they choose to have, go to the executive session,
Right.
that's their choice. Everybody have to leave here, Steve. But the Open Meeting Act means that they can come here to listen to the meeting.
I thought the person or persons has the option to choose either way.
Yep, this is Open Meeting Act.
Yeah, under the Open Meeting Act, the board can decide they want it closed or open. But if the board decides they want it closed, the personnel could ask for it to be open. But the Open Meeting Act doesn't apply. So it's what y'all choose to do.
Okay.
And under the Open Meeting Act, governmental bodies under that, the meetings are open to the public. That's not necessarily so on a government, if you're not a governmental body, then it's not automatically open to the public.
So since I'm the first person on the agenda, I can request it be a closed meeting.
Yes.
No, that's what I'm telling you.
I'm asking.
Under the Open Meeting Act, you could go along if the board wanted it closed, it would be closed. There is a misconception that personnel items are always closed. No. The board decides whether to have it open or closed, if the act applied. And
For
then
each item?
the employee or personnel can say, no, I want it open. Okay, but what if the board wants it open to begin with? Well, there's nothing that could compel the board to hold it closed. That's up to the board to make that decision, you see. But the act doesn't apply, in my opinion. And again, I'm open to anyone that wants to show some authority that it does. But I have looked at it and I can't find it.
We're going to keep this meeting very respectful and keep everybody at a good level. But we're going to switch something up here. We're going to go to the open floor for people who have signed up and have 3 minutes. If you're on there, you want to speak, you have 3 minutes. We're going to switch, go to that right now. Get it out of the way.
Yes, I'm asking the board that you will let me know at 2.5 minutes that I have only 30 seconds left, so I can make sure I make my points. My name is Gloria Romer. I'm the managing editor of the Seabreeze Beacon. That is a newspaper. I'm also a private citizen, and I'm a taxpayer in Winnie Stowell. Because it was public record yesterday, I do have a copy of the letter that the Winnie Stowell Hospital District Admiral gave to Northern George. And the second to the last paragraph says this: rest assured, the Winnie Stowell E.M.S. will be receiving a second information request on September 29th, requesting copies of any board minutes and recordings of the minutes, as well as any documents discussed at this board meeting. We are assuming that if an employee that is the subject of the meeting requests that the meeting be conducted in an open session, the Winnie Stowell E.M.S. will follow the rules set forth in the Open Meetings Act and comply with the employee's request. I have been involved in board meetings for boards for 25, 30 years. I have never, ever seen an outside entity demand that another nonprofit volunteer organization do what they want to do. I contacted Hubert Oxford, who is paid by the taxpayers. I contacted Ron, who is paid by the taxpayers, didn't get a response. I contacted Ed Morrill, who is voted on by the people of Winnie Stowell, and they would not respond to
Unless you have an
why.
email showing my name on it, don't say you contacted me, because the only email you sent me was different.
Excuse me, this is my 3 minutes, Mr.
You need to
Nichols.
wait, Ron, you have your minute.
This is my 3 minutes, okay?
But you can't sit here and lie like you always do.
Okay, I'm gonna warn everybody.
Oh.
Any outbreaks?
Oh,
Can't do
Hubert.
Wait a second,
I
Hubert,
responded to.
Hubert, you
You
don't
didn't
respond.
respond to the question as I said, why
Okay.
is the Winnie
Let's stop
Stowell
this meeting right
EMS?
now. Gloria, stop the meeting right now. Any outbreaks, you will be asked to remove. Don't do it again.
I don't go around and interrupt people, man. And you should respect us. If you want to talk, you get your 3 minutes. Okay?
Can't say.
You interrupted us.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
Okay, if I can finish my time.
Please, I'm running.
Time out, hold up, no, hang on, time out. We're not here for this, okay? We're here to resolve a problem, and we will have to go to a closed session if that's how it's gonna end up. I mean, this is all volunteer stuff for the community. If you ever wanna fight amongst each other, I don't wanna be no part of that. You know, because I should be on the job right now, and I'm sitting here listening to a bunch of bickering, and I'm not gonna do it. So, if anybody have a problem with getting along in this meeting tonight, please go home. Just leave and let us try to control this and get it under control. But arguing and fighting amongst each other is definitely not gonna get it done.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. I appreciate that, because as I was called a liar, I have proof through email that he never answered the question that I asked.
Just go on to what you.
Okay, well,
leave
no,
all
because
that.
no one brought up the public information
Just go
things.
ahead and do that.
Okay,
Please.
this is also, and it has to do with the personnel issue, which has to do with the EMS coordinator who's standing over there, Ron Nichols. At the September 20th Winnie Stowell Hospital District meeting, he is on record, on camera, talking about the board, about you volunteers who spend all your time and hours to make this organization a great organization. Y'all are out there on the scenes in emergency situations. You are not paid. He is paid, the paramedics are paid. This is what he has to say about you who hired him and you who signed his checks. He said, I don't care what they think. He said, I will put myself on any agenda for anything to get funding for whatever I can get. Whether people like it or not, whether the board doesn't like it or not, it doesn't matter to me, I don't care. How can you trust this man? And as a citizen, with my taxpayer dollars going to pay him and have him come on a scene, an emergency scene that has to do with my family or loved one or my friends, how can you trust a man who throws you under the bus, literally throws you under the ambulance? Thank you for your time.
Anybody else like to say something?
Yes, sir, I'm on the list.
Yeah, I wanted to thank the EMS, Ron Nichols, and any of the paramedics or volunteers that did the job they did for Harvey. They worked with the hospital, they worked good with the hospital, and that's what this community needs. It needs to stick together, especially in times like Harvey. And I do thank all of y'all, every one of y'all.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Sorry.
In regards to trusting Ron Nichols with your family members, I'm a paramedic with Winnie Stowell E.M.S. I worked with Ron on the street, on an ambulance for 2.5 years with the city of Beaumont. Anyone in this room would be lucky to have Ron on the scene with their family members. When he says he'll do anything to procure funding, it's for the system, for your families. Ron asked me to come work here, and I did that because I know that he is doing what's best for the system and what's best for your families, and that's what I want as a paramedic. That's in regards to Ron's character. I think I'm central in this investigation into a personnel issue. I don't know what we can get into or what we can't, but I was the only person that saw everything that happened. I worked the entire hurricane, all 6 days in a row without going home. Was here for 160 something hours. I had planned on following the agenda with the open discussion being after all of the events. I don't want to get into the investigation and produce information that could be beneficial or harmful to someone's reputation without knowing what happens in that event. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
I may also just from a medical standpoint, you know, I've been here 20 years as a trauma surgeon and running the trauma center at Christus. We get a lot of patients from Winnie, and I've been extremely impressed by the level of care that's been rendered in this community, and it's actually gotten better and better over the years. And you have to give credit where it's due. The paramedics have done a great job. A lot of them work at Beaumont E.M.S. and then, you know, partially work here. So personally, I've always been very, very impressed by their level of care. And I'm not trying to throw people under the bus, more so than Acadian, which is a massive institution. I will take Winnie E.M.S. any day with their knowledge and the way they render the care. They're top notch. So from a medical standpoint, I've never had any issue with them, and I've been in close contact for practically 20 years.
Thank you, Dr. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Nick Morrison, I live in Winnie. I was the first employee hired at Winnie EMS 16 years ago, come October 1st. My brother was here, myself, and Justin Arsenal got hired by Kenneth and Roberta Thibodeau, which were on the board then. So I've been here the longest. And to see where Winnie EMS was at that day, to where we are now, is leaps and bounds. I spent 22 years on the city ambulance. And I'm going to tell you, I watched this man yesterday work a code in the hospital. It was probably the most impressive I've ever seen in my life. I turned to somebody and said, I'm not sure I could do the job that man does. That is the quality of medics that are out here. There are 200 years of experience in that room over there. They come here, and every one of us have a job outside of here. We get off and we come here and work 36 hours a week. Now, during this storm, some things were done. We were on an island over here by ourselves. We received zero help the first 3 days from the county. We were rescuing people in canoes. We were cooking our own meals. And not one time did I hear anybody say, hey, this isn't right. This is what we do. This is what we do. This lady right here has worked at the city, Stephanie. There's not a medic over there. Because if you're not the best, you don't work there. We'll run you out of town. Because you're going to be the best if you work in Winnie, Texas. What I've seen in the last 2 weeks makes me sick of you tarnishing Winnie EMS. I sat right there and listened to you on Monday talk about that man in an open restaurant. And I was 2 booths away and could hear you. If you want to talk about him, go to somebody's office. But don't spread it in an open restaurant. Very disappointing. Very disappointing the way the board's handled all of this. We are too good an organization to be tarnished. That man right there promised me when I came here, because he was on the board, whatever you need for this ambulance, I'll make sure you get it. And he's done that. Everything we've ever asked for here, whether it's new monitors, new trucks, new drugs, new protocols, we've gotten it. Now, we got in some trouble, and the board took care of that. You've got a man that's going to fix it, but it's going to hurt a few feelings along the way, because he's going to do it right. If you know anything else about Ron Nichols, he's going to do it the right way. And we did it wrong along the way. I live in this town. My mom was a nurse in this town. I don't plan on going anywhere. I pay taxes here. And as long as I'm welcome, I'm going to ride that ambulance. And when they get tired of me, I'll just move on down to Hampshire and ride with Mr. Asher down there for a while. That's all I got to say.
Anybody else?
I've been here 36, going on 37 years, and volunteer, farm 1,500 acres of rice, 22 miles from this, about 23 miles from here, got a whole herd of cows. I still volunteer. One of the few people in Winnie, Texas that's got a certification to go out and pick up any one of y'all's family members when I'm in home in Winnie. Or if I'm halfway from the farm rushing up here to wherever it is. Exactly, Nick said, we got to do something about it. Because we had to have, I went to Austin, testified. Mark Stiles had us all up there, testified to get a variance because the county judge's aunt got hit in a wreck right down here, and I only had one EMS in the hospital right down here. And I couldn't sit in the ambulance over here, and I couldn't legally go pick her up. I had a driver, one certification. So that's when I went to Austin. Got it where we get a variance. Hyla said, get me a variance. Mr. Hatcher, get me a variance. I want a variance. Lois Corner said, I'm going to meet y'all at the airport. You and Larry pick me up. I want to testify to get the variance in that way. We're all volunteers on our own money. Got the variance. So we was able to, if there wasn't two available, this is the only one we can get them to the hospital. I said, we got to do better than this. I went 5 years to the county commissioner's court. This happened to me in Anahuac. Well, yeah, hey, I need some money to get a paramedic or get a licensed person in Winnie, get one, because we got another one that worked, a couple of them work here, so we can go pick up people instead of leaving them out there to be legal. Okay? The county judge calls, I got your money, half-cent sales tax. You got to get it voted on. I got my bumper sticker. Either pay up or die. He didn't like that. But it's a true story. But anyway, the wonderful people of Chambers County gave us a 0.5 cent sales tax. They collected $1 million. First one they used was at the Rice Festival. We got a paramedic here, and they gave us at $10 an hour. They wanted me to go do all the legwork, and I did, find out how much it's going to cost. I did all those figures for them. They hired a paramedic for the Rice Festival out of that $1 million. A deputy fell off the horse, and I thought, oh, he got throwed off. Come find out he had an aneurysm, throwed off on the horse. The paramedic recognized it. They helicoptered him to Houston, saved his life, saved him. So I was so excited for a step in the right direction. This is a little history of where we are, where we were, and where we are now. Since then, these paramedics have saved so many lives. 2 minutes response or less. You can't find in the community anywhere in Texas that has better care than Winnie TX. I deer hunt in Bracketville, I hunted all over out there. And those people have to load their family members up or their injured people and rush them to the hospital. They get them close. They don't have the service we got here. It scares me going out West Texas. I used to. But I said, luckily my family lives in Winnie, Texas. And then my farm is in Anahuac service, and I help both of them. And it's a great relief to know that Nick and Ron and all these paramedics, they come up on the scene, they can almost, without an x-ray, out without anything, they know how to, pretty close to what's there. And they call this guy right here, said, bring him on. We say, that stroke, we saved some people here that saved, there's lives saved. You can get them up here, I will line them up out the door, people that appreciate it. I don't like anybody mouthing Winnie Stowell E.M.S. This guy gives up a lot of money. He's volunteer.
30 seconds.
Okay, and I'm volunteer. I'll go help anybody anytime. I'm cut. I shouldn't. I went on a call yesterday. I had my men working down there, and I came back and just made a call. But I'm just saying, hey, if y'all want, I might have been relaxed on buying this ambulance because I'm the treasurer. But you can blame that part on me. I look at it. We don't approve anything until we get across here. But
Thank you, Steve. I don't think anybody's questioning the service we have in Winnie Stowell, Texas, as far as medics and everything else.
I do it on every call. I watch them by personally learning, and seeing these guys working. And I ask questions, and they explain to me what they're doing. They said, wow, wow.
Let's go on. Baron, do you want to open or close session?
I think I would prefer that my section be a closed session.
That's where we're going next. Everybody needs to leave the room, please.
Well, I need to leave, seeing as I'm in all the incident reports. What's the person that saw what happened?
If we call you in, you can come back in.
These were in my compound.
You might want him to turn the camera off.
I know how to turn my camera off. You can pay attention to your own stuff. Don't worry about me. Carry on.
Hey, Jim, can you do me a favor, make sure we record this?
Tell no truths, and I have emails that
Cycle 1 and Cycle 2.
Bring us one.
Are you here?
Yeah. You're married to that man? Hi.
Oh, I was going to introduce myself.
Otherwise, on the cycle.
I thought that was second.
1 and 2.
I was just trying to introduce myself.
I'm very nice to meet you.
Well, thank you. You weren't till you know I had a camera on.
Yeah, you do. Liar.
Keep it rolling. Yeah, she wouldn't even talk. She wouldn't even let me introduce myself. So we need to be.
No, just outside. I'm going outside.
We record this here.
What is this?
It's your recording that you want.
Oh, are these at the 14-minute mark regarding Nolan George's remarks? That you, okay.
It's going to be on YouTube, so whatever y'all
Oh, I
want
wish
to
you
do.
would post all this stuff. Sure have taken your time.
I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid millions of dollars.
No, I don't get paid either.
Like you.
I'm the paper, I don't get paid.
So why'd you bring you here tonight? Why did Mr. Oxford bring you here tonight?
Anyone's business but mine.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't even hear it.
it doesn't matter.
But I love meeting y'all out here. It's so nice.
Why did he bring you out here? So I guess Oxford gives free legal advice to Ron? I guess that's okay.
I'm gonna do hair. No, you're not Madison. Yeah. And I said, I go into the nursing home.
Really? Okay. So let me ask you, why? Oh, and Ed Robb, the one who was voted on by the people of this community. Why we're having the business of the
They got no man, didn't they?
Yes, so.
about demanding Winnie Stowell E.M.S. conduct the meeting in a certain way in open session for employees?
Remember whenever you first started?
Hi, nice to see you
You
again.
don't know why? Well, who wrote that letter that you signed? You don't know who wrote the letter that you signed? We got it right here. Did you need to see it? Oh, please don't. You represent me because you live in my district. I'm asking you as a citizen why you're meddling in the affairs of the Winnie Stowell E.M.S. By insisting they have an open session for a certain employee. Okay, you refuse to comment.
Wait.
I'm asking you now. Are you talking privately with Winnie Stowell Hospital District about your relationship? And I mean, how would the Winnie Stowell Hospital District know to put this an employee's request to have an open session? Is that you? You're not going to respond? No, you don't, because you're paid for as taxpayer dollars, and you refuse to respond to a letter that was sent regarding you from the president of the Winnie Stowell Hospital District.
Did I have my name on there?
You don't want to record?
It says an appointment. I'm asking you, so this isn't referred to you? I mean, are you in discussions with the Winnie Stowell Hospital District? Oh, that's a smile. Does a smile say, yeah?
You can assume what you want, Miss. It don't matter to me.
Okay, well, we were
Because
going
all
on
you've done
record.
is print assumption lies anyway, so it doesn't matter to me.
Okay, what have I lied about? You proved what I have printed that is the truth. And let me ask Hubert. Hi, how are you? Listen, I know you, did you write this letter for the Winnie Stowell Hospital District?
My client.
The Winnie Stowell Hospital District is your client.
That's my client.
Did you write that letter? You drafted that? Okay, my question is why are you asking that a certain employee have his,
I just kind of reminded them because they're lawyers.
oh, so
Well, it's actually not their lawyer, but they think it's
their
right.
lawyers wrong? Okay.
But they'll find that out.
Oh, they'll find that out. Okay, well, you know, that's not the point here. The point here is that y'all are.
This isn't a public meeting, lady, and I think you're the sweetest thing ever, but you don't need to be filming everything.
It's in a
just you're
public
just
building.
obnoxious.
It's a public
Yeah,
building.
we'll just film you.
Okay, you can film me all you want.
I'm on your Facebook Live.
Hubert, hi everybody, I'm with Hubert Oxford. He is the highest paid attorney in Winnie Stowell. He makes hundreds of thousands of dollars off his client, the Winnie Stowell Hospital District, which is paid for with taxpayer money, but he refuses to ask direct questions that is asked of him. Small, Hubert.
Yeah, we have hired the engineer that did all that for meetings.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Steve, say aye. Nolan? Bill? Unanimously? So there, we resolved your issue. Thank you. This next one is Ron, put on the closed session again, please.
No, sir, I'm going to object to the session being closed per the Texas Open Meetings Act because we collect more than 70% of our income from the county. We're considered a governmental entity, which means I have a right to keep the section open.
With all due respect, here's the statute, if you can show it to me. What you're talking about on funding has to do with public information requests.
And also the Open
Which
Meetings
is,
Act.
no, sir, it public information requests. And they're two different definitions. Two different acts, two different definitions. And the closest I could find was if it was a nonprofit corporation that is eligible to receive funds under the Federal Community Services Block Grant Program and that is authorized by this state to serve the geographic area of the state, and you're not. You're not eligible to receive funds under the Federal Community Services Block Grant Program. And so if someone can say where you fit in, you're not formed, you're not a nonprofit corporation under the Water Code, Chapter 67 of the Water Code. You're not a joint board created under the Transportation Code. You're not a special district. You're not a local workforce development board created under another section of the Labor Code. You're not a county board of education. You're not a county board of school trustees. You're not a school district board of trustees. You don't have rulemaking or quasi-judicial power classified as a department, agency, or political subdivision of a county or a municipality. You're not a municipal governing body in the state, and you're not the county commissioners board in the state, and you're not a board, commission, department, committee, or agency within the executive or legislative branch of state government that is directed by one or more elected or appointed members. And so, again, I ask, how is it that you would be a government or governmental body under the Open Meetings Act? I haven't heard. I've looked. I've made an honest effort to answer the question, and my opinion is you're a nonprofit corporation under Texas law, not subject to the Open Meetings Act. Again, that's different than the public information.
Then let me ask a question, if that's the case. Let me ask you a question then. So how come last night in the open meeting, Mr. Nolan specifically said we are subject to the Open Meetings Act in front of everybody?
Well, probably for the same reason that you told me you were subject to the Open Meetings Act when we first called. That's why I looked at your agenda to see if it would comply with the Open Meetings Act, and I told you it would, because you were under a false impression. Unless you can show me where there is a statute that makes you subject to it, or if it's in the bylaws. You know, the corporation can agree to conduct meetings pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. I haven't seen those bylaws. I've read your bylaws. That's not in there.
Which bylaws are you reading?
Well, there's bylaws that your president supplied to me. So, again, it's your agenda item. If you want to participate, the board is willing to talk to you. If you don't want to participate.
Per Mr. Bobby Way, I didn't need to have an attorney present here with me, and I'm not going to executive session without an attorney present. So therefore, I'm going to object to y'all having an executive session about me, without me and an attorney being present in that meeting.
Again, you're invited to participate. If you choose not to participate, that's up to you. Well, his attorney would not be, if they want to do a closed session, your attorney would not be permitted to be in there with you. But that aside, they've asked to meet with you, asked to discuss the issues with you. If you don't want to participate, that's your decision. Nobody's going to force you to do anything.
So the board is choosing to close the session?
It wants to have a closed session so they can speak with him privately.
Whose attorney are you?
I'm the board's attorney.
Let me ask you another
When
question.
did the board have the election for the attorney?
That's a good question.
When?
I don't know. I wasn't present. You'll have to ask.
When did they have the election?
I was just
To hire
contacted.
you?
I was contacted by Mr. Wade, and I also spoke with Mr. Nichols. And the way they talked, I was asked to do a job. I agreed.
I spoke to you because I was told to by my boss.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know.
It was not, we discussed it.
So what authority does he have to give any legal advice? None.
Well, I'm licensed by the state of Texas.
But you have-
To give legal opinion.
They haven't hired you.
Well, maybe they have. maybe
Anyway,
they
hey,
haven't.
look, this is about me. It's not about everybody else. It doesn't matter.
Ron, I wish you to go ahead and we'll get it resolved. and deal with it.
No, it's not going to be resolved in a closed meeting, not the way that I've been treated this week. If you have something to say about me, you're going to say it in the public, because that's what you've been doing all week anyway.
Who you're accusing of somebody talking all week?
Did I say your name, Steve?
You said the board. I'm on the board.
You're president of your board. How's that sound? Is that better?
I'm on the board,
Okay.
and you didn't say that. You didn't clarify that. I'm on the board, been on here for 36 years or longer.
I understand that. And I
Because
appreciate your
we
service.
receive Medicare and Medicaid, that doesn't,
I
Yes,
can't
you
find,
remember
I
that.
can't find.
No, hey,
anything
I do
that
remember
says
that, and I appreciate your
I can't
service.
find anything that says that's a trigger. Now, I tell you, the closest thing I found, if a charter school, a nonprofit corporation wants to become a chartered school under the Texas Chartered School Scheme, they have to adopt the Open Meetings Act as part of their meeting requirements in their board bylaws. But I couldn't find anything analogous to that for EMS, that volunteer ambulance service.
If EMS is governed by the Department of Transportation, that's not a board.
Well, I just read to you each of the definitions and asked you if that, and said it didn't apply, nobody said it did. I just went through every item on the definitions. Now, there is another special provision for property owners associations, depending on the size of the county and how big the thing is. Sometimes a property owners association is subject to the Open Meetings Act. But again, I couldn't find anything.
So this is normally something you would ask the Attorney General.
No, sir. I would ask, no.
They
I
would
wouldn't
make
ask-
the
I would-
decision.
I would ask whoever says it is, I would ask them, well, what is that basis? Tell us the basis.
But the person who's given the legal advice has to have authority to give the legal advice.
Well,
So are you his,
I'm reading the
so
Open
Hubert, are
Meetings
you
Act.
his attorney?
I'm reading the Open Meetings Act. and
Giving
that's
you
where I started.
advice.
But I'm just saying, to give legal advice, you have to have authority to give legal advice. I don't have authority to give him legal advice. I don't have
I
authority
bet
to give
you
them legal
have.
advice. I'm not
I
the lawyer.
bet you've been giving him legal advice.
Just
Has he
let
ever
me
given you
have
legal
his-
advice?
let- Address you on open court.
You know he
I don't know
has,
what
you just don't want to lie again.
I don't care, Bobby. He's asking to have it in open court.
This isn't your meeting,
This
Oxford.
open meeting.
It ain't a court.
In an open meeting. What does it hurt?
It's a volunteer.
What does it hurt?
501c.
What does it hurt?
Who are you to argue with him?
What does it hurt?
We're gonna ask you, Hubert, we're going, Ron don't want to meet with us, and we'll do something.
Give me 1 second, because I'm pulling up that statute from the Attorney General decision. I'll be more happy to provide to you in just a second.
And make sure if it concerns the definition of the Public Information Request Act or the Open Meetings Act, because they're different. In fact, the Public Information Request letter y'all did mentions that case that just decided that issue not too long ago. With Greater Houston
We've been down
Partnership.
the road before, and this is something you can have the Attorney General
Hubert,
address.
I've asked you to keep yourself. Yes, sir. Thank you.
What's presented before the board for action now?
Yes, sir.
What is presented before the board? What action do we need to take?
I would just need to discuss with you some issues.
If the person that you're trying to discuss, the personnel person, is sitting here asking you to have an open meeting, the fact that, little Bobby, the fact that y'all are having that and trying to not
He
let
used
him
to
do
come
that is
hunting here and
really
they called him Little Hubie
strange.
because his dad's Hubert. It's
I
not
mean,
meant to
this
be
is,
rude.
this is unbelievable. I mean, the two people most that sit here and argue for transparency, the two people that argue for transparency the most are sitting here supporting not transparency.
This was a board decision about having a closed session, not my decision.
I'm not saying, I mean, it's,
Ms. Oxford, are you giving Ron legal advice?
no, I just think it's a monkey
You know,
court.
Hubert, if Ron looks it up and he agrees to have a closed session, then the board will.
That's Ron's choice.
So why is it so important to you that's an open session, Hubert?
Yeah.
Because I just think it's ironic that these,
You know, at the hospital district, when you talk personnel issues, you go to executive session. We don't have it
if the
in open
person wants
session.
to,
No, I mean, I'm just real
if
curious
they
why
want to,
you're
if
so
they don't want to,
interested.
then we don't.
Please, Hubert, no more. Please. Everybody.
I just have a question since the
No, sir, it's up to the board. It's up to the board. The board conducts the meeting. The board manages,
So you can have
The
half of
EMS.
it closed and half of it open.
however the board wants to do it.
It's Ed Merle. He's president of the hospital district. Hubert is. And his new wife, she's real pretty.
Have it open?
Make a motion, make a motion, it's been seconded to vote if you want to have it open. Everybody say aye.
How much longer? I gotta go home and cook dinner.
How many hours was it? No?
He's requesting, I'll have to agree with him.
Let's let him look at this, see if he's right or wrong.
The part deals with the sprinklers at the very bottom.
There's some button, I think.
The Supreme Court decision, actually, bottom of it.
What's the name of the church? Oh, yeah, that's the public information act. That's
But
the
it also
act.
says that you're considered a governmental body. So if you're considered a
Under that
governmental body,
definition, I can show
you're
you.
considered a governmental body.
No, sir, it's not a one definition for all acts. It's under
Ron,
public
they have a
information.
motion and they have 3 votes to let you talk in public.
I'm not gonna do anything that's illegal, Hubert, so just calm down, bro.
You got a
Everything I
vote?
do is above board.
We have 2 votes,
Huh?
you vote to close.
Aye or nay?
To have it open. Are you okay with
Well, you
open?
got a majority already.
Yes, we got a majority. Three to two that you vote against.
I'll sustain.
Only yes or no? Is that a yes or a no?
Steve, you sustain one.
Huh? A vote? I got a vote. I'll go with the majority of the board, whatever the board is.
Yeah.
I'll vote for it.
For those meeting,
Yeah.
get it on.
Who's on, what's on the agenda? Go ahead and discuss it, so we get it on tape, picture over.
Mr. Nichols, you're warm welcome.
Carry on, sir. You put my name on the agenda, so you can let me know what allegation you have against me. If it's concerning Darian Jones, it needs to, it doesn't matter.
That's fine. I guess it concerns a little bit about the hospital meeting the other night. I don't quite understand why you wanted to slash the board so hard, myself and everybody else.
How did I slash the board?
Did you watch that recording?
Yeah, I did.
Did you not make comments about you don't care what the board said?
At some point, yes, I did.
I think it was pretty obvious you made that comment. I listened to it. I'm gonna say this, Ron, you're a hell of a man if you run this ship on the other side. But did you ever tell us that you were gonna put it on the agenda? What you told me was that it was on the agenda, but you actually put it on the agenda for them to vote on. Is that correct?
And we discussed it, it was put on the agenda also.
Okay. You never implied that you put it on the agenda, you said they put it on, you said it's on the agenda. Most people would assume the hospital board put it on the agenda. But my understanding when you go to Mr. Hubert over there, Oxford, he asked you and you said you put it on the agenda. Is that correct?
They asked me if I'd be interested in funding for
No,
the truck.
you put it on the agenda.
Why don't you let me answer my question, Bobby? Stop interrupting me. They asked me if I would, if they could help with funding for the ambulance. And I said, if y'all would like to help for funding the ambulance, that's fine.
Question to you is, did you put it on the agenda or they put it on the agenda?
It's their agenda, it's not mine.
In the video, Mr. Oxford made a statement in there about you putting it on the agenda.
Okay?
Okay. Did you have any board actions to do that, any public board action to do that?
Nope.
So I just, that's the big issue here, Ron.
So the issue is, so So I'm gonna make sure this is clear. So the issue is that I asked the hospital district for money for funding of an ambulance. That's the whole issue with this.
It should have been done properly, and that's what we want to talk to you about, Joe.
Well, I'm gonna make a statement since you brought it up, and then I've got some questions for the board of directors also. If that's okay with you. Huh? Is that okay with the board? Did I do that? So first off, I'm gonna apologize to everybody in here that this has even happened in the first place, because this is all over ego and politics. It's really what it comes down to. So, but before I get started on the questions for the board, on the for the reason that I'm on the agenda for tonight, I want to say that I'm honored that I was given the opportunity to work with these guys here at Winnie Stowell E.M.S. We couldn't do what we do without the guys that work at Winnie Stowell E.M.S., and they make my life a whole lot easier, because they allow me to do what I need to do as the coordinator by taking care of patients and me not having to watch over them every 5 minutes to make sure they're doing the job right. The statement I prepared is about me and my experience alone. Okay? But let me be clear. Like I said, I wouldn't be here without you guys. First, I'm going to say how disappointed I am with the entire board of directors for Winnie Stowell E.M.S. based on their actions over the last week. If you're going to laugh, you're interrupting me, so please stop. I took this job per your request. In the process, I ruined lifelong friendships because I felt it was the right thing to do and the best thing to do for Winnie Stowell E.M.S. in this community. I spent over 180 hours of my own time during the month of April doing an audit concerning protocols, policies, state compliant, etc., to assist the service in understanding deficiencies that were in place, of which I have never been compensated for and have never asked for any compensation. Because I felt that that was a decision that should have been made by the board and not for me to ask. I did all this while maintaining my full-time employment at the City of Beaumont E.M.S. and working every 3 days. After I came on full-time, I've spent an average of 30 to 35 hours a week in the office fixing problems within the service that vary from narcotics, supplies, policies, rewriting protocols, meeting with the DEA, the Texas Department of State Health Services, county officials, etc., all while still working my 48 hours on the truck every single week. I've created multiple databases to track financials and narcotics, brought in a new medical director to assist with us improving Winnie Stowell E.M.S., brought in new staff and reduced payroll, changed the EPCR software with the assistance of specialized billing, which allows us to gather more information about patients, treatments, supply costs, etc., reduced the monthly bills and costs, created CE classes, which, as Nick can attest, usually take about 20 to 30 hours to create and prepare for, and then spent time spending 3 nights out of a week on top of my 48 hours teaching that class to ensure that every employee had the opportunity to go to it. Personally, I've dedicated my life over the entire summer. I lost my son's last year of summer baseball because I dedicated my life to Winnie Stowell E.M.S. I missed my daughter's dance competitions. Okay? Now, I'm sorry if I'm getting emotional, and you can laugh all you want. That's fucking rude. Pardon my French. Spent time away from my family and friends and have not asked anything in response from you guys other than your support. Spent an average of $500 a month in fuel driving back and forth to Winnie to make sure this place was fixed and running right. All of this because it was the best thing to do for the service and the best thing to do for the community. Not once have I ever asked for any compensation from this board for doing that. Just when I started to have a normal work schedule and be able to spend time with my family. And anybody that knows me, you can ask them how important my family is to me. Okay? Tropical Storm Harvey come to visit Southeast Texas. I came in on Tuesday, 8/22/17, to work my regular 24-hour shift. I apologize. Before Harvey ever made landfall in Corpus and started going to conference calls, meetings with the county, preparing the staff, and getting everything ready in case something went bad. I went home Saturday afternoon after being here since Tuesday and attended a party with my family because at the time, the hurricane had drifted north. It changed its mind and decided to turn back towards Southeast Texas on Sunday morning. Sunday morning, I received a phone call from Nick Morrison and advised that rescues had started all over the county and mostly in Hampshire. I returned back to Winnie Stowell E.M.S. and stayed here until Monday 9/4, over 8 days later. Spent a total of 18 days at Winnie Stowell E.M.S. during the hurricane. An unknown number of hours, because I can't tell you how many hours I was awake versus how many hours I was sleeping, because it all kind of ran together. And the only compensation that I was provided was my full-time employment, regular pay. Not once did I ask for any compensation. However, Mr. Nolan told me, hey, go ahead and pay yourself double your salary. And I laughed at him and specifically told him, I can't do that. It has to be placed on the agenda at a board meeting. When it was placed on the agenda, immediately when it was brought up, I was told that we didn't have the money to provide me with any compensation, and that it would be tabled to a later date so that I could prove my hours and work provided during the hurricane. Thanks to the planning and preparation with the assistance of my team at Winnie Stowell E.M.S., we were able to ensure we had adequate staff to ensure both trucks were in service 24/7, something that was not provided during Ike Rita. We fed all the first responders on the east side of the county without any assistance from county services for the first 4 days. That includes EMS, fire, sheriff's department, and the EMS task force that came in later to help us out. With the assistance of Jimmy Gore and other county officials, the volunteer fire department, and members of Winnie Stowell Hospital District, as well as Winnie Stowell E.M.S., we were able to coordinate rescue efforts for the east side of Chambers County, even when the dispatch system was down and not working. And we continued to ensure that this community was cared for and taken care of during the entire process, and anything that was needed was met if it was asked. Personally, I did all of this while my own house is being destroyed. I had to get my family rescued out of my in-laws' house. Luckily for me, in the middle of all this, and with the assistance of our employees, I was able to spend 20 hours in my house to tear it out the Monday after the storm. I then came back to work the next afternoon to stay for an additional 7 days. I did all of this without asking for a single thing from this board of directors other than your respect and your support. That being said, is there any disagreement with any of the facts that I just stated?
Not any disagreement. The reason I asked you for your hours was we made sure we compensate for what you have worked. That's all we needed. If you didn't know how many, my second statement was get us some hours together where we can figure out what we can do. Let's do.
Your work ethic is not in question. Maybe the thing that has caused more problems than anything is going beyond what might be considered normal for the Winnie E.M.S. I would like to make a motion that no action be taken against you, other than we will sit down with you at a different later time and enumerate the things that you are required through what you do and what the board will do. Maybe a miscommunication on how this is to be done, but it will be specifically set down what your duties are and what the board's duties are. Your actions during the storm were just phenomenal. So there's no question of it. When I asked that you be compensated, obviously I give you some hours together so we'll know what to do. You will be compensated for your hours that you spent here because we appreciate what you've done. So at this point, I would like to make a motion that we take no action against Ron at this time.
I still have questions for the board of directors before you make a motion.
At a later date, we will set down guidelines for you on what we feel is your job and what is our job. Is that fair with you?
I still have questions. I still have questions for this board.
Will be done at the next board meeting. Everybody second it?
What's the motion? Can you read the motion? The one you just talked about, that's the motion, that's your motion?
So let me ask one question first then. My job description's been placed on the agenda twice. How come it hasn't been approved yet?
Well, we just haven't done it. You gotta understand something, we all have jobs and everything else. It needs to be taken care of. You are right, it needs to be taken care of.
So explain to me why it hasn't been taken care of yet. It was on the agenda twice. If you tabled it, I put it on the next agenda and you tabled it again. According to the bylaws of Winnie Stowell E.M.S, I have no direction.
Well, you do. You take care of the medics.
There is a motion on the table, it's been seconded, I suggest.
Anybody in favor of it, say aye.
Can we still discuss the motion?
Nope, they're shutting me down by putting the motion in, so I can't talk anymore.
It's been made second, that's when you can discuss it.
You just voted.
You just voted on
You
it.
just voted on it, so I wouldn't be able to say anything else.
But if you have a comment,
Go ahead, make a
we'll
comment.
accept your
Y'all
comment.
never, I had my hand up to make a comment about his accusations about the board.
Go ahead.
I wasn't aware of him going to the hospital and being on the agenda. I was busy doing things like trying to cut rice or doing something stupid like that. Anyway, we brought up at our regular board meeting to give him compensation. It's in the minute. We just need it on paper. I'm the treasurer. If I write checks, Brenda Wilbur is our accountant, and we have to turn in a receipt and a board approval, and then she cuts the check. We don't cut our check. I don't know if people know that, but it's all record. Every penny that we spend goes to her office, and she makes a record of it, year to date, from January 1 till now, or 16, 15, 14, ever since we started collecting tax money. She's collected every penny, and it's been real approved. But I don't know some of these actions that he said about the board. I'm part of the board, and I'm at a loss, probably like some of these people, about some of the accusations that have been made. I hadn't made any accusations.
How many board meetings have you made, Steve?
I make them from time to time.
I don't know, how many board meetings have you
Getting
made,
out of
Steve?
control. I
Okay,
suggest that,
Steve,
unless there's something else that needs to be
Yeah.
discussed, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. I don't care about it. Hey, I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid. I don't need to be in. I don't care. You can call me a liar. I can call him whatever I want.
Tougher than me.
Hey, I bet you, everybody in this room, I picked up teachers or somebody's kid to them the last 7 years. And didn't get one penny. My brother, until he died, covered for him. That makes it a little tougher for me to give up plant rice, cut rice, working ground, working cows. I got working cows all this weekend. Ambulance call covered. It's hard for me to not go right and take off and go help somebody. There was a wreck right here. I needed those balls. My livelihood. But we win. Keep it up.
Go to Facebook. You cannot say this is going to call me as well.
My poor husband.
They're supposed to be playing over here.
This is chapter 5. So, you know, this is in this.
Are you going to eat with us?
Good to see you again.
And that's a huge asset, so we need to look at the picture first.
What? That's gonna be their problem, not mine. I don't have a job description, I don't have a job to do. I hope you're recording that so you can put it on video too. I don't approve you recording my private conversations, you need to turn your camera on.
You know you're being recorded. Look, you know you're being recorded. So don't say anything you don't want recorded.
He told us a year ago he did two of them ahead of time. He did it between the Anahuac and Mount Bellevue. Tony Sims is the man that does our owns what gift in the
Well, the
county.
ESD's collecting tax dollars just like y'all are collecting.
We're getting grant money.
And
Dave.
we've got to
Getting grant
produce
money.
an audit
Y'all said tax dollars.
to the
They said
county.
tax dollars. I never said tax dollars.
Y'all have never done an audit, ever.
But it's
When did
okay.
when did the Anahuac place
For
get
Hazel
set?
and everybody, it's okay if it's not.
No,
if
no,
it
no,
does,
no.
if
No,
it's
you're right.
okay.
No, wait. No, don't say something. We did do it on. But Tony Sims is one who would do the audit on us. It's at his schedule. He told us 3 years ago he would be here. He hadn't got here. So I called him today and said, we need to get audited. Okay? We're not going to go outside and hire outside audit, pay the money. Tony Sims, the county auditor, will audit us. He did the he does the Anahuac, Mount Bellevue, Cove. And at that time, he did Anahuac. He called us and said, I need to get to you and audit. That was 2 years. That's not my fault. That's Tony Sims' fault. He said today he will do an audit. And the only thing he can audit is what they give us in grant money. If the money's kept separate, there's never a commingle of money, and that's what got Anahuac in trouble.
No, nobody knows. Nobody has an audit on
To
it.
my knowledge, we've never done anything from this.
Nobody's done an audit. Nobody knows. I haven't a clue.
Brenda Wilbur hasn't done internal audits.
But I know we're required. We got to
But you're a tax
outside
agency.
of-
You're a tax agency. Let the attorneys fight it. Let the attorneys
No,
fight it.
Hazel, it's okay as long as you pick and choose. Yeah, that's right. You gotta pick and choose which one.
Bless you.
30 seconds.
Well, I worked till 7, and I had somewhere to be. Oh, well, I was working on my motor, and I didn't even remember it when it popped up.
I don't think Hubert office work likes me.